Okay, we are live.
Hooray!
Let's see. Is there... I'm just trying to pull up the chat so that I can see it while we talk. Okay, I think it's up. And then I lost the screen. Okay. Okay, guys, so this is the next Watch-Along live show. Today we're going to be discussing Lord of Chaos. And I just finished the book last night, and I'm really excited to talk about it because a lot of stuff happens in this book. As a reminder, this is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't read the book yet, then you probably don't want to proceed. Although before we get into spoilers, Roya, do you want to say any of your non-spoiler overall thoughts on this book?
I don't know. I thought that the witty character banter was very on point in this book in several parts.
Yes, definitely. I laughed a lot in this book.
Yeah, I think it probably had the most funny quotes and whatnot out of all of them so far.
Yeah. I agree. I think overall, I don't know, at the beginning I was starting to think that it was kind of slow. I mean, I feel like the second quarter of the last few books has been a little bit slow in the sense that there's a lot of buildup. But I mean, from the midpoint to the end of the book, so much stuff happened. So I think it's definitely a book that's out of the series that's full of a lot of reveals and a lot of big plot points that happen. And it was really exciting. So yeah, those are all of the non-spoiler things that I would like to say. So if you guys haven't read the book yet, you come back and watch this when you have read it. So what did you end up rating the book, Roya?
I think I've given every single one of them 4 stars so far.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty good. Obviously, they have drawbacks for some people. I've rated them all 5 stars. I think this one was the closest one that I came to rating 4 stars. Part of that, obviously, is a little bit of a nostalgia factor. I just really love these books. But yeah, I haven't rated one 4 stars yet. So what were some of your favorite things that happened? I know you mentioned the banter a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought that one of my favorite scenes probably was when Perrin meets Fail's father.
Yes.
And the whole conversation is and then her father is like, "Oh wait, you're married? Says who?" Well, blah de blah, and it's just that whole conversation just. I was totally laughing about it pretty much that whole time.
Yeah, and then when they go to see her mom and they've been slapping each other, but yeah, that was funny. And she had to convince her mom that she was old enough to be married, and if not, then her dad was gonna kill Perrin. That's kind of crazy. I'm glad it didn't come to that.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, Perrin was barely he wasn't in the last book at all, and then was in the prologue of this book, and I was like, oh great, that's awesome, Perrin is finally in this book, but then half the book goes by before we finally get more Perrin, and I'm
it's actually I think 3/4 of the book before he makes his appearance.
It's
a while. And yeah, when I saw him in the prologue, I was like, yes, we get to see what's going on with him again, because I'm starting to get to the point in the series where I don't remember as much stuff. I'm finally getting to the point where I can be surprised by things, because I think prior to this book, or maybe even the 5th book, I had read more than twice, and so that stuff was pretty embedded, and I knew a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the big plot points I remember, but there are a lot of things that I'm starting to not remember and be surprised by, which is really fun. So I didn't remember that he left and came to, was it Camelin or Kyrian? I don't remember which city he came to, but yeah, I didn't remember that he was going to do that, so I was really excited to finally see him, but it was totally a teaser to see him in the prologue and then not see him again until almost the end of the book.
Yeah, I mean, the part that he's in the prologue is still pretty awesome, because I mean, and I like the whole it made me like Fail a lot more because he tries to say like, no, you can't come with me. It's too dangerous. I mean, it's too important that you stay here. And she's like, you were just going to say it was too dangerous, weren't you? He's clearly like the boss of everybody, basically.
She wears the pants, for sure. I think in past reads, I've really, really liked Fail, but I think this time, now that I'm like actually married and more of an adult, I don't really appreciate, like, I think I find humor in the way that she treats Perrin, but at the same time, I don't think that they have like the greatest relationship. Like, I used to, like, they were probably my favorite couple, I think, in previous reads. And in this time around, Fael's kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. Like, I wish she would let Perrin do his own thing.
Yeah.
But she's always trying to manipulate him into doing what she wants.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think one of my favorite things that happens in this book is Egwene getting raised to a Merlin seat. I have such a hard time saying that word. A Merlin seat. Merlin seat. There we go.
I did not see that coming at all. Like, I kind of didn't see, I don't know if it was mentioned, but I couldn't figure out what their reason was for picking her specifically when she wasn't full Aes Sedai yet. And so
so they picked her because they thought that, one, because of her connection to Rand and how they're friends, and they're hoping that that connection will help them to control Rand. But because she's not already an Aes Sedai, they're hoping to be able to control her as well. And you already kind of see that starting to happen with the 3 different sides of the tower, or the Hall of the Tower that's in Salidar, trying to tell her what to do. And so she has to start trying to juggle what she really wants and what she thinks needs to be done with all these different factions that are trying to control her. So it's something that I've been looking forward to happening, because there have been like little hints that it's more like foreshadowing, not like hints that you could have picked up on. In one of her accepted tests, she has a life where she's a Merlin, which I think we talked about before. And Elaine has also jokingly said, like, one day you're going to be Merlin, which of course that didn't really mean anything. She was just saying it as like a joke. She didn't know that it was going to happen. But there have been these like little seeds that if you knew it was coming, it was cool to like read about. So that's why they picked her. And there is a scene where, when the embassy that comes from Elida sides of the tower comes and they ask for more time, and Nynaeve is like eavesdropping on them by standing outside the building. They tell that lady, like, oh, we need more time to think about it. And then when that lady leaves, the people that are still in the room say something about they're waiting on the biddable child. And they were talking about Egwene at that point, which you would have not known at all unless you were rereading it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's, because I do remember that them saying something about the biddable child, but I don't.
Yeah, so that's what they were talking about, and they're hoping to be able to control her. And I mean, this is all I don't think it's ever said on page, but I think that it's all Lyanna and Swan's like brainchild that they're making happen.
Yeah, because I totally got the idea that maybe they're trying to make her a scapegoat for something, so that at some point they can just be like, oh, well, it was her fault, and then like leave, basically, at some point. Like,
I don't think that's what it is. I think that they are just hoping that because she's so young, that they're going to be able to control her, which obviously they're in for a surprise because she's already turning things on their heads.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the plot points that I have really been looking forward to happening. And I just remember the first time I read it, I was shocked. I was like, what? Because, the Amyrlin is someone with so much power, and usually they've been Aes Sedai for a long time. Like, it totally came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What did you think about Nynaeve accidentally healing Logain and then being able to also do it for Swan and Lyanna?
Oh yeah, I remember that part. Yeah. I mean, that was definitely a surprise.
Right. I mean, it's something that because right now there have been a lot of things that they have like rediscovered. A lot of the things are things that Mogadine like taught them from the Age of Legends, but being able to heal Stilling like has never been done. Even in the Age of Legends, like even Mogadine was like, "That's impossible. You can't do that." And Nynaeve does it, and I was like, "That's so cool."
Well, something's definitely, I keep getting the sense that maybe something's up with Nynaeve's powers, that she's not doing the same things as everyone else. Because remember, during her accepted test, she remembered that it wasn't real pretty easily. And then she's had the whole struggle of getting like blocked, like she can only channel when she's really mad and all kinds of stuff. They can't really figure out why, how to help her with that, all of that. So I keep trying to think of like why, maybe her powers are somehow not exactly the same and something's up with them in like some way. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, I think I've always kind of chalked it up to her being a wilder and like figuring things out on her own, and that's why her healing, the way she does it, is different from other people. But there could definitely be more to it than just that.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat, Van, said, "This book has the most brutal ending so far. It was a great moment. I love the shock from everyone." Oh, I think the great moment was Egwene getting raised.
Hmm.
Cassie Stevens said, "I enjoyed it, but I wanted her to stay with the wise ones. I liked that relationship and thought it had good potential." That's true. I did really like Egwene's time with the wise ones, and I love that before she left to go to the Aes Sedai, that she confessed that she's not really Aes Sedai and she had to meet her toe. And then they all like hugged her and were like, "You're truly an Aiel at heart." Like, it was such a heartwarming moment.
Yeah.
But I think that Egwene's gonna be able to have a lot more power and agency over like the things that are happening in the world in her new position. So while I do think she had really good potential of staying with the wise ones, I think she's learned a lot from them, and she can make changes in the White Tower now that in her new position that she wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. There were a lot of really good reunions in this book. I mean, a lot of our main characters have spent the last few books spread apart. I mean, some of them have been together here and there. But in this book, there are a lot of people coming back together who haven't been together in a while. So like Matt meeting back up with Egwene and Elaine and Nynaeve. Oh my gosh, that was like such a funny scene where he walks in and he's like, "You guys are crazy. They're going to kill you. You can't pretend to be Amerlin." And then he realizes that they actually aren't pretending. Like, that whole scene was so funny. I have grown to love Matt so much more. He cracks me up all the time.
Yeah, and he like talks shit about the Amerlin, being like, "Well, whatever sucker they got to be the Amerlin or whatever."
Yeah. Before he knows it's Egwene. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
Yeah, I think Matt had a lot of really funny moments in this book. Just yeah, his part of the witty character banter was very awesome as well.
Yes. What else? So we got a lot more insight into some of the Forsaken in this book, and I have to admit that like on the first reread or the first read through the series, I had a really hard time keeping track of all of the Forsaken, who they are, and what their like different motives are. And so that's something I'm able to like comprehend a lot better on these rereads because I'm more familiar with the characters. But I remember my first read through, I could not keep any of the Forsaken straight. I got them all confused. Mm-hmm. Oh, Vance said the wise ones gave Egwene the strength to deal with the manipulation from the older Aes Sedai. I agree. I think she learned a lot of skills from the wise ones that are going to help her to control the Hall of the Tower in ways that she wouldn't have been able to if she hadn't spent that time with them.
Yeah, I think Egwene has been picking up a lot more, just, she's been growing up a lot more in these books and picking up a lot of skills,
Mm-hmm.
of things. So she's like turning into a really badass character, and it's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe not all the characters, like Nynaeve and Elaine a little bit less, I think, have grown over the course of the series. But when you look at Egwene and you look at Perrin, Matt, and Rand and see where they were when they started the series and where they are now, they're like such completely different people. They've grown so much.
Yeah, I mean, they were all really young at the start of the series, and they were all from like a small
town. Yeah.
So yeah, getting out of there really, and since they were so young to begin with as well. I mean, Nynaeve is from there too, but like she was already like in her 20s, basically, at least.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. And she's kind of like, I mean, she's grown a little bit. I think she's definitely become like less judgmental of other people. Like when you look at the way that her clothing has changed, like she used to be really like not self-conscious, but she covered herself a lot and was very judgmental of women who were like showing too much skin. But now she's kind of changed her mind about that, and she enjoys showing a little bit of skin sometimes. So I think she's changed a little bit in that sense, but in a lot of ways, she's still really stubborn and kind of set in her ways.
Yeah, and she was also really like smart and could think around corners and whatnot. All kinds of like qualities that she already kind of had at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, I was kind of sad that we didn't get to see what happened to Lan in this book. Like he wasn't.
I know, but at the very end, there was a little snippet of like him coming back into the story, so that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
I guess in the next book. But yeah, he was completely missing from this book. I mean, there's just like so many characters. It's hard to keep up with all. I mean, in that sense, it's a little bit like Game of Thrones and how like it's hard to juggle all those storylines.
Yeah, I mean, Perrin was completely gone from the previous book, so.
I know, and I don't feel like we never really learn what happened. Like, I think there is a time gap and we don't really learn what happened in that time gap, but I don't think a lot happened. I think he was just governing the two rivers as it was like getting bigger and stuff. So what did you think about the reveal about who Rand's mother is?
Yeah, that surprised me. I definitely thought that his half-brother would wind up being someone like evil or something like that. So the fact that it's...
Well, he is a White Cloak now, so...
Yeah, he's kind of, I guess, an anti-hero or a somewhat not so great dude anymore, whatever the deal is. But I was totally thinking he would end up being like a bad guy who Rand would have to like defeat or something, which I guess could still happen the direction things are going.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was not who I had expected at all. I don't know who. I didn't really have an idea of who I thought it would be.
Right.
Someone we had met before. So I guess it does kind of make sense in a way because of the people we met before, he is probably the like baddest person, I guess, even if he's not like evil or something.
Yeah, he's not evil, but he wants to do right no matter what, and in a way that's not always the right thing to do. So.
Which could eventually turn into him being evil. So I guess there is that.
Right, there's potential there. Yeah, I remember being really surprised at that reveal the first time that I read it. And I also remember being concerned that him and Elaine were related, but they're not related, so it's fine.
That would be really weird. So he was like kind of worried that he was related to Elaine, but then he's like not.
Yeah, they found out. And I mean, it's weird because they share a half brother. Like it's both of their half brothers, but through different parents.
I know, that would be really weird.
Yeah, because
Imagine.
Elaine and Galad share the same dad, but not the same mom. And then Rand and Galad share the same mom, but not the same dad.
Yeah, so that'd be really weird from Galad's perspective if like Elaine and Rand got married. He'd be like, yeah, so my brother and my sister got married.
Right? But they're not related.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was kind of genius the way that he did that so that he could bypass any incestuous relationships. And by he, I mean Robert Jordan, of course. Let's see. What else can we talk about? So, what do you think about the Black Tower and how Rand is gathering these men who can channel? Obviously, by the end of this book, it comes in handy.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's kind of funny because I had totally predicted the presence of a black tower, but I totally didn't think that I didn't like know if that would really happen or not.
And it probably came about in a way that you weren't expecting. But I remember you mentioning something like that, and I was like, yeah. I couldn't say anything.
Yeah, no, that was kind of funny. But no, I also thought it was kind of weird that at the even from the beginning of this book, you kind of get all these people who think that Rand is a false dragon because he always has Aes Sedai with him. They're probably doing the channeling for him, and I'm like, no, dude.
That's what the White Cloak said, right? I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had totally forgotten about the part where Loyal's mom and now fiance and Elder Hammond come to find Rand and are like, "Where's Loyal? We need to find him." Totally forgot that part happened, and so it surprised me, and I liked seeing them. But it's so funny that he took them to the two rivers, and Perrin wasn't even there.
No, I totally I loved that part. I thought that was really funny because yeah, it was because we get from Loyal's sort of description sort of what his culture is like and how so basically marriages are arranged because if a girl likes a boy she tells her mother and her mother tells the boy's mother and then the whole thing is arranged before the boy even knows it, and then we actually see that
play out
in the yeah.
And it's what's funny is that Loyal isn't against it. Like you would think that he would be like offended or like wouldn't want to do it, but then once he finds out who it is, he's like, "Oh, but she's so pretty."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like he's like afraid that that she wouldn't let him go on adventures and whatnot. He finds out who it is and he's like, "Oh, wait, did you say blah blah name?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, well, she's."
I like her. But it is kind of scary to see that Loyal has been out of the setting for more than 5 years, and it's like getting dangerous. And we even see him like physically feel tired and have to go and stay in a setting for a little bit when, Perrin comes to the city. So that's a little worrisome. I hope he's okay because I love Loyal. I really like that we meet Oliver in this book. He's one of my favorite characters just because he's like a cute boy. And his relationship with Matt is like so cute and I love it. I mean, Matt, of course, doesn't want to be any sort of father, but he ends up being like a father figure to this kid.
Which is also kind of funny because Matt was basically a little boy not that long ago. So
right, yeah. Oh, and that scene where he's in a bar and like jokingly says something about the daughter of the Nine Moons, and there's a Shanchan in there, and he like chokes on his beer, but Matt doesn't recognize his accent, so he doesn't recognize that he's Shanchan, but we as readers like can read into it and know that that guy's Shanchan. So again, that's another clue because I think there was a clue in the last book as well that this daughter of the Nine Moons that Matt is fated to get married to is some Shanchan woman. I'm just going through my notes, finding other things that I want to talk about. So what are your thoughts on this? Like, it's not really a love square or triangle. I mean, it's kind of like a polygamous relationship, right? Between Rand and the three girls.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. I mean, you kind of wonder how that's gonna turn out, and especially with like Avienda being friends with Elaine, but she also is like jealous of her now at the same time. And
Yeah, I mean, they're all like jealous of each other, and even Elaine and Min are really close too.
Mhm.
Um, I think it helps that Min has had this viewing, and it's like sort of a part of the pattern. Like it's sort of a fate thing that they were all going to fall in love with him. Versus if they didn't have that explanation to hold on to, I think they might be a little more catty about it.
But then also so did is it explicitly stated that Min is one of them, or did she think she was one of them because she fell in love with Rand?
Uh, I thought it was explicit, but I am not sure. But I've always been under the impression that it was the three of them. I think it's the three of them.
Because I kept, because at one point I kind of thought, what if it's not Min? Because, like, what if she just thought that she was one of them because she fell in love with Rand? Because she's the one who tells Elaine that, yeah, there are going to be 3 women who Rand is with, and I'm one of them too, and whatnot. And just because there's that whole scene where, like, she's the only one who Rand doesn't seem to have the same feelings for yet. And so there's the whole scene where he's like, yeah, you're like just like one of the guys and blah blah blah. And she's like, thanks a lot. Like,
Yeah, she gets so mad at it.
yeah, so like, what if it's not actually her and that was just the assumption and it turns out to be someone else and she gets all annoyed or something?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's a lot of flirting that happens, but Rand definitely like explains it away as just being a joke and just like being friends. He doesn't realize that she really has feelings for him,
Yeah.
which he's dumb. I feel like it's obvious. She keeps trying to kiss him.
Well, the thing is too that a lot of people don't, people don't know in that situation. Like you never.
Yeah, you never want to assume that someone is in love with you.
Well, yeah, definitely not. And then, like, there are all kinds of false positives that come with if you like someone and they're really nice to you and you think that you don't know if, like, the things that they do and everything are because they like you or not, all kinds of stuff. So I guess it kind of makes sense that he wouldn't know, but it's still kind of like, yeah.
Duh. So, I mean, for Elaine and Nynaeve's storyline, we kind of leave them in Ibudar. They're looking for this bowl that will hopefully help with this weather that they're having. But like I thought that they were going to find the bowl while they were there, but it didn't happen. They just kind of left us hanging.
Pretty much.
Although I was kind of surprised when they met with Queen Tylan and how helpful she was and how she was like totally into it and not, she didn't give more power or more respect towards the other 2 Aes Sedai, which actually I wanted to look something up about the 2 Aes Sedai that are with Nynaeve and Elaine, the older ladies. I thought one of them died. And I wanted to look that up before this chat, but I forgot. And I probably can't find it now because it's going to take a minute. But I thought one of them was dead, and so I'm a little suspicious about what's going on there, but maybe I'm making that up. And because, okay, so these 2 Aes Sedai, you might not remember that these are the same people because it was so many books apart, but these 2 Aes Sedai are the 2 Aes Sedai that Moraine, for a little bit, she like left the group and like went to an older pair of Aes Sedai who had a really big library, and she was like doing research there, and she gets attacked by a Drakkar, one of those bat things that like kisses your soul out of you or whatever. And I thought that in that attack, one of the 2 sisters died. And so I was very surprised to see them both here. And now I'm like questioning my memory and my sanity because I'm like, did they die or did I make that up? Like, I don't remember.
Because then if one of them did actually die, that she might be an imposter or something.
Right. And I think, I mean, I could totally be making this up, but I thought when one of them died, we found out that they were both, or the other one was Black Aja. So I'm very suspicious of these two. I don't know if my suspicious reasons are correct. Like maybe I'm misremembering because it was so many books ago, which is why I wanted to look it up before talking about it, but I forgot. So yeah, I'm suspicious of those two. I feel like there's something going on there, but I could be wrong.
It's totally possible. I mean, with how subtle a lot of the stuff is that goes on in these books, it's totally possible.
Yeah, I know there's so much to keep track of. So Cassie Stevens said, wasn't it the warder that died? Yeah, so maybe they just lost a warder and it wasn't one of the two sisters. But I still feel like we thought we found out that they were Black Aja. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, another thing that surprised me was Alana bonding Rand as a warder.
Yes. That came out of nowhere.
Really?
Oh my gosh. But that was one of my favorite like reunion scenes too, where he walks in and he sees all of the girls from the Two Rivers. And then the way that they react when he comes back out of the room and he's like, this guy is saying these terrible things about you. He says you're the Dragon Reborn. And he's just like, yeah, it's true. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, Alana bonding him, she was like, I'm not going to hurt you, which is true because she can't lie. She's really a nice guy. And I mean, bonding someone doesn't hurt them, but he was totally taken by surprise. And we, learned in the last book that bonding a warder without asking permission is like totally taboo. And actually, I hadn't really realized this until the end of this book, where we see that little clip with Rand or with Lan, and how the two Aes Sedai were talking, and one of them was like, "What you guys did is almost as bad as bonding a warder without permission, because passing on someone's bond is basically the same thing." I hadn't really made that connection until the end. But yeah, so we learned previously that that's like a really bad thing, and for her to do that was totally shocking. Mm-hmm. But it kind of came in handy in this book because she helped to find him. Although I'm sure Perrin would have found him regardless. He had an idea of where Rand was.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because, like, of all the people to bond him as a warder, like Alana, who he doesn't even know that well or anything. Like, she's
right. And Elaine is going to be pissed when she finds out. Like, she wants to bond him. And I don't know if you can bond, if one person can be bonded by more than one. Like, if one warder could be bonded by more than one person. I know that Aes Sedai can bond more than one person, but I don't know if it goes the other way. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, my assumption was it couldn't go the other way because that would be kind of weird, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll just have to find out.
But then that also made me wonder more if Alana is Black Aja or something.
Oh. Yeah, because that is like an unexpected thing to do. It's possible that she's Black Aja for sure.
Yeah, because I kept thinking like, oh, well, I wouldn't suspect her of being a bad guy or anything, but so maybe she is, just because. And so I've been suspicious of her ever since, just because she's not suspicious, which I know makes no sense.
But that's how this book works, or this series works. It makes you suspicious of everybody.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the capturing of Rand. I think we were all surprised by that because the Aes Sedai, they didn't lie because they never said there's only this many of us, because they just had women who were, wearing hoods and stuff so that we can see. Although I think they also said that they hadn't quite gotten the ageless face yet. So they didn't outright lie, but they basically lied and brought more Aes Sedai or women who could channel in the room. And I was so mad. They totally took advantage of Rand and They kidnapped him. Like, that's so terrible.
Yeah.
Well, and at the very beginning of the book, in the prologue, there is a scene where the Aes Sedai from Elida meet with the Shido Wise Ones, and then it's like never talked about again. So I feel like it very easily could have been forgotten that scene happened, because that scene basically like made you think something bad was going to happen, or that they were like working together. So it made you suspicious, but it was also very vague and like really easy to forget that was even mentioned, because it was like so long into the point where they actually kidnapped him. So were you surprised by that, or were you expecting them to turn on Rand?
I was definitely surprised by that.
Yeah. I think as a rereader, it's easier to be like, oh, look, he planted the seed here. But this, amount of pages in between when those things happen are so far apart that it's like really easy to forget that happened.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And then the whole like scene at Dumai's well was crazy. Everyone converging. Perrin gets there. The Shido turn around and are trying to attack the Aes Sedai. And then Perrin comes up and then starts attacking both of them. And then out of nowhere, the Black Tower people show up. And I mean, they were, I think, the winning factor. Like, without them, I'm not sure if Rand would have been able to escape and everything. And it was really interesting to see how brutal they were. And I mean, Taim's been the one who's been training them, and obviously he has been training them to be very brutal. But even Rand, I mean, he tells them to kill those people the way that he did because he needed to like teach them a lesson, the Shido. But after a certain point, even he gets like disgusted with the way that they're being killed, So it was a very intense battle. Oh, and then the Aes Sedai that came like with Alana's group, how they ended up kneeling and swearing fealty to Rand, like that was definitely a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And unexpected.
I think there was a lot of unexpected stuff throughout this book.
I know, yeah, the last half, just so much stuff happened. It's crazy. Oh, and then at the very end, Mogadine is freed by Arengar. So Arengar is very interesting. I mean, we don't know a lot about her. So we saw Arengar and I forget what the other one's name was. Osengar, something like that. At the beginning, basically being born, and we don't really know who they are, what their history is. But then Arengar comes back into the book, like somewhere in the middle. She's reintroduced as Halima, and she's Delana's secretary. And so that's how we learn that Delana has been Black Aja this whole time. But what's interesting is that, okay, so Arengar knows about the Black Aja because she had to make some sort of hand signal so that Delana knew who she was, but she can't channel saidar, but it seems like maybe she's channeling something, right? So she's like, she has some magic. So I don't know. We don't really understand. It seems like maybe she's channeling saidin, but she's a woman, so like that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's totally possible. I mean, I don't know. Have you read The Power by Naomi Alderman?
No, but I'm actually going to read it next month for a book club.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, so like, it's about like women having an organ in their collarbones that produces electric shocks, and men don't have that. But there are random anomalies where a couple of men do have that, and a couple of women like don't. Just a rare thing. Just every once in a blue moon, there's like a man who can shoot lightning and whatnot, and a woman who can't, and whatever. And so it might be, yeah, it might be like that. Like it might just be like some random, super rare, like women can channel Sidene for some reason or like whatever. Like it might just depend.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of mystery there, and I'm interested to learn what's going to happen. But she obviously also like knows a lot about the shadow. I mean, she knew exactly who Mogadine was and, you know, released her. So she seems to be someone high up in like the rankings of the shadow or whatever. But yeah, I'm interested to learn more about her and who she really is. And it's a little scary that she is in Salidar and so close to Egwene. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and then I was pretty surprised that Egwene and Gawain fell
Oh
in
yeah.
love. Like
That came out of nowhere, right?
came out of nowhere. It's a pretty awesome pairing, but it really came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of the pairing, but I mean, this is what I was saying in like my introduction video. Like these relationships kind of come out of nowhere, and you just have to like accept them. There's really not that much. I mean, he did a little bit of build up with the whole like dream scene and pulling her into his dreams and stuff. And I mean, on this reread, I've been kind of like looking for clues as to what was going to happen, and I mean, there really wasn't that much. I mean, Gawain has always been into Egwene and has always thought she was really pretty, but so has Galad. And up until this point, I feel like she's been pretty evenly split between the two. Like, I think that she has shown more of a physical attraction to Galad, but there has always been like a physical attraction. I mean, along with every other woman, I guess. And then with Gawain, she's always like liked his personality and stuff, but it's always kind of been equal between the two, as far as I could tell, that which one she liked. And it wasn't until the dream sequence that she falls in love with him or like realizes her true feelings for him. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't that great of a setup. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, even the dream sequence is very blatant, like very suddenly in your face, like love.
Yeah.
Okay, don't know where that came from, but all right. Whatever.
Yeah. And then they meet in person and she confesses her love to him. Oh my gosh. And I think it's funny that they continue to like meet at that inn and have like little makeout sessions and stuff. Okay, well, I think those are most of the things that I want to talk about. I think I'm going to take a few seconds to look into what happened in the previous book with the two Aes Sedai that I feel like we should be suspicious of, but I don't know if I'm making it up. But if you guys in the chat have any like things you want to talk about or want us to talk about, feel free to chat it in while I kind of look this up, because it's driving me crazy. I want to know. I have to go back. I'm going to go to like the library.tarvalon website and look through chapter summaries from previous books, because I'm pretty sure I can figure out what book it was in. If I can click on the right link. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I think that's pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I finished the book like at least like over a week ago, I think.
Oh, did you?
So like last night while I was like getting in bed, I was thinking to myself, like, what things were like the biggest things that happened? Oh yeah. And then I like thought about all of it. There's a cat in my lap.
That's always a good thing.
Yep.
I'm tempted to click on, so they have like character summaries on this website, and I'm tempted to click on a character summary for these two sisters, but I'm afraid that I'm going to see something that hasn't happened yet. So I'm not going to do it that way.
Yeah, I was looking up like last week or so, I was looking up like a bunch of stuff on all the different Ajas and whatnot, and I was like trying to not read too much to make sure I don't get spoiled.
It's so hard. I think I'm up to 3 big spoilers of things that I didn't know were going to happen. And I think I've read up to book 10 or 12 before. And I have 3 things that I've learned on accident that happened, I guess, in the last few books.
I only was spoiled for one thing, and I didn't actually get spoiled for how it happens. I just know, like, yeah, I only got spoiled for, like, one thing that was, like, super simple, and that was, like, 2 books ago that I was spoiled for that, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so I found the chapter where she's with them and they are attacked. And it says that Lan and one of the other warders shows up and kills the creature. In no time, Vandine and Aldialis, I don't know how to say her name, are outside with lanterns, and one of them sends the warder to the villagers. The Aes Sedai wonder how it got so close undetected, and Moraine realizes the creature must have been shielded. A Black Sister must have been involved. I think there's still another chapter where I feel like we went there. Maybe it's just that we know that there was a Black Sister involved, and I assumed it was one of the sisters, but I'm going to keep looking through these chapters. What's nice is that these chapter summaries tell you what characters are in the chapter at the top, so I'm just scrolling through them and looking at to see when the 2 sisters are in the chapter. But maybe that was the only thing that happened. And if that's the case, then it was all in my head that one of them died and that one of them was Black Aja. Oh, we have a couple people in the chat. Did you already talk about Rand and his relationship with Lews Therin in his head? No, we actually haven't talked about that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's pretty weird. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like Lews Therin is pretty crazy.
Yep, definitely pretty crazy.
But I think that Rand is holding on to his sanity pretty well. I mean, I think he's starting to lose it a little bit, but I think most of the crazy thoughts are coming from Lews Therin.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it is kind of weird how it's like Lews Therin is a completely different person, but Rand is still like his reincarnation, basically. And
yeah, no, it is weird, and he's like inside his head.
Yeah, which also seems weird because usually that's not possible if you're the same consciousness, basically.
Right.
But maybe that's also why. I mean,
yeah, it's really hard to know how much of it is Rand going crazy and how much of it is him being like the Dragon Reborn and being Lews Therin reincarnated. But I think that it's definitely not just Rand going crazy, because Lews Therin seems to have a mind of his own, and he has his own knowledge that he's been able to share with Rand, and sometimes he tries to like take the power, like control of the power, which is kind of crazy.
It's kind of terrifying because then also you never know if Lews Therin would end up possessing Rand at some point.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else about those 2 sisters, and someone in the chat, Cassie Stevens, said, that neither of them died and that she checked the wiki. So thank you, Cassie, for checking. So yes, I'm crazy. Neither of them died. And there's no confirmation that either of them is Black Aja. It's possible because we think that a Black Aja or a Black Sister was involved in that Drakkar attack, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was one of them.
Yeah.
That's good to know. That puts my mind at ease because it was driving me crazy. All right. I think that's all I got. You want to call it?
All right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody who joined us, or thanks everybody who watched this after the fact as well. So the next book that we're reading is going to be the next one, A Crown of Swords, and we will be announcing on our channels when the next live show is. It'll be roughly in about 4 weeks. It's how they've kind of panned out, every 4 weeks or so. So if you have read A Crown of Swords, we hope to see you there, and you guys have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.